Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. There's no doubt that this Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn fight, I don't know whether it's sold out today. I think it probably has. Eddie Hearn and Shalom are saying that it could have been at Wembley Stadium, never mind Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's going to be massive. Of course it is. You've got the two massive names meeting each other. I keep saying this, but I consider this to be kind of a gimmick catchweight contest. Originally, it was about the sort of names of the two names matching the British boxing legends, their sons fighting. Now it's deeply, deeply personal with lots of genuine aggression and dislike flying around. But one thing that struck me was some people are a little bit, I think, unnecessarily shocked or even critical about what happened after Eubank Jr. splattered that raw egg on the side of Conor Benn's face. I think people, first of all, no one knew he was going to do it. Supposedly his own team didn't know he was going to do it. Okay, well, that's a debate for another time. I think probably Eubank's his own man. He does his own thing. He's quite a calculating guy. So he probably did. He probably didn't tell anybody, but he probably did plan it in advance. Well, obviously he did plan it in advance, but quite a bit in advance. I mean, it wasn't just a spur of the moment thing on the way there. He thought, I'm going to buy some eggs and shove them in Conor Benn's face. I think he probably had that on his mind. I think, as I said in a previous video, one that I did yesterday, Chris Eubank Jr. is really in bitter, hateful mode. And he seems to be carrying around a lot of spite regarding what happened with the failed PED tests and the fact that Conor Benn has been in his face and confronted him just before he fought in his last fight, confronted him for the cameras, really. And Eubank Jr. thinks, okay, you want to make it personal. It is personal because you tried to cheat, and you tried to cheat against me by jeopardizing my health. I was boiling down to 157 anyway, and you were trying to cheat. That's how he perceives it, rightly or wrongly. So the fact that he gave Ben this little slap with an egg, you can argue, well, that's not a very nice thing to do. But then, from his point of view, he's thinking, well, you know what? Failing 2 PED tests, that's not a very nice thing to do either. So I wanted to humiliate him and get his attention. And of course, he's got it. Now, if you remember, Nigel Benn jumped in and grabbed Chris Jr. around the neck. And Chris Jr. in the second press conference said, if you ever do that again to me, the way he phrased it was, if you put your hand on me again, you won't get it back. So it was a not so veiled threat towards Nigel. Now, first of all, people are saying, is this right? Look, first of all, Nigel was interviewed afterwards and he said, I thought it was, someone had glassed Conor. He thought Chris Eubank Jr. had glassed Conor Benn, who's his son. He didn't know what was happening, but someone attacked his son during a face-off and he was like, I'm not having that. It could have been a glass. People have made the point, well, Eddie Hearn's saying, well, it could have gone in Conor's eye, the fight could be off. And theoretically, yeah, true, that's true. But I'm more inclined to take Peter Fury's stance that it's just an egg. Who cares? If that's the worst you're expecting in a boxing ring or during the build-up to a fight, he just got splattered with an egg, so what? But Nigel didn't know that. And that is his son. And he had a go. And to be honest with you, I don't blame him. Because if that was my son, I haven't got any sons. But if I had a son and that was him, what do you instinctively think a father or any member of the family is going to do if someone attacks one of your children or siblings or whatever? You jump in. You don't even think about it. I would imagine most people would do that anyway. Some people, of course, they might just be shocked. They might go, "Oh, what the hell is that?" But even Eddie Hearn was getting involved. Wasn't he? It was all a bit of a melee and, all a bit childish. But at the time, on the spur of the moment, you don't know what that is. That could have been a glass. It could have been a bottle. It could have been a can. It could have been something. The point was he put his hands on, Eubank Jr. put his hands on Conor Benn, and he should not have done that. And Robert Smith of the boxing board, the board are looking into this, is saying, no, he shouldn't have put his hands on him. The egg's irrelevant. You put your hands on the man. You shouldn't have done that. And that is, bringing boxing into disrepute. That's actually obviously an assault. You could, if Ben was so inclined, he could go to the police and say, this guy just attacked me. And he'd have got away with it. At the very least, that's common assault. Yeah, it is common assault, actually. But Ben's not going to do that, is he? Because this is all, when all is said and done, a big pantomime, and it sells the fight. But I don't blame Nigel Benn for jumping in and grabbing Chris around the neck and saying, why'd your neck in, so to speak. Now, Chris, when he made his remark, if you put your hands on me again, you won't get your hand back. To be honest with you, I would expect that too. If someone puts your hands on you, what are you going to do? You say, oh, don't worry about it. Yeah, I deserved it. I egged your son, so you grabbed me around the neck. No. I mean, Nigel Benn is 61 years old. I'm 57, so I'm not that much younger than Nigel. But if I put my hands on anyone, even at my age, what do I think is going to happen? Obviously, they're going to hit me back. If someone hit me or grabbed me, I would hit them, or I'd shove them out of the way, or I'd, try and take the legs away, or I'd do whatever the hell I had to. But if I did that to someone else, I would expect the same treatment. I'm kind of surprised that people don't join the dots here and think and realise that that's kind of inevitable what's going to happen. No one is going to stand there and say, "Oh yeah, hey, I grabbed you around the neck, but I don't expect you to do anything to me." No, of course you expect it. So Chris, I don't blame Chris for saying that, for being quite clear, quite transparent. You put your hand on me. His attitude is, this is between me and your son. I understand you're the father, but that's got nothing to do with this, between me and your son. That's a naive way of thinking, because again, no father is going to, sit back and let someone, actually a naturally bigger man, attack his son. I don't think Nigel was going to try and beat the crap out of Chris. He's going to try and push him away, but there's not going to be any great roll around on the cobbles. It's just at the time, on the spur of the moment, he thought, what the hell's happening? And he grabbed Eubank Jr. So Eubank Jr. is entitled to say, don't ever put your hands on me again. But then the comeback is, well, you did something that's out of order, so I'm obviously going to do it. Now, all of this, you could say, well, yeah, but all of this is just, all the fun of the fair. This is just, again, it's pantomime villainy. It's promoting the fight. It's this. The board will take a dimmer view of that, and Eubank might end up with $100,000 fine or whatever the hell it's going. I don't even know what it's going to be. But Robert Smith can't let that slide. This fight is under the auspices of the British Boxing Board of Control. They have to be seen to be doing something. And whatever you say about Robert Smith, and I've criticised him in the past myself. It's a difficult job to do. To be a General Secretary of the British Boxing Board of Control, very, very difficult to spin all those plates and get everything balanced and try to appear fair to everyone. But I actually, when all is said and done, I support the board, because I think everyone says, I'll get rid of the British Boxing Board and replace it with what? You've got to have a solid set of ideas and the right people to replace something. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. None of us like a lot of the board's decisions, and none of us have liked what's come out of Robert Smith's mouth sometimes. But nevertheless, it's a thankless job. It's a tough task to do. And generally speaking, especially where the rules and regulations regarding health are concerned, I think the board do a sterling job. Actually, I think that if you're old like me, you'll remember the Michael Watson tragedy, and the circumstances surrounding that, getting Michael to a hospital late because they went to the wrong hospital, and all of that was looked at, and the board's health and safety procedures are probably the best in the world, or certainly amongst the best in the world. I would say they probably are the best in the world, because they learnt. And you need in a sport, especially a sport like boxing, which is extremely tough, you do need to have you need to be policed correctly, and you need those safety measures to be in place. And I think the board get a lot of flack, some of it justified, but a lot of it isn't. A lot of it they're just trying to do the best they can, and you need a proper ruling body that everyone is answerable to. So Eubank Jr will be punished, but he's getting paid millions, so I suppose $100,000 fine or even a $200,000 fine he's not gonna lose a lot of sleep over that. He probably loses that during one of his poker games, I suppose. But what do you think? What do you think about this? Do you think it's surprising? Do you think there'd be more of this as the fight gets closer? More confrontation between... I mean, Nigel Benn played the elder statesman beautifully. I mean, the Nigel Benn that I remember, I followed his career pretty much from the start to the end of it. I mean, he was a terror. He was a real terror. And he was a genuine menace. It's not someone to piss around with outside of the ring as well as inside it. A real savage man. But he found God. He became a born-again Christian or something. He's now in his 60s. So he actually apologised to Chris Jr., even though Chris made a threat towards him. He said, no, I'm sorry, I grabbed you around the neck. But, So he's being the sort of sagely older statesman of boxing, if you like, which is nice to see. But make no mistake about it, I think if Eubank Jr. did go for Nigel out of the ring, it probably wouldn't end well for Eubank Jr. Not because Nigel would beat him up, but yeah, Nigel, he probably knows some people, let's put it that way. And Chris Jr., I mean, he doesn't even have isn't he estranged from his father? He seems to be a bit of a lone wolf, which is all right, I suppose, if you're a Frederick Forsyth assassin loner or something like that, but not in the real world. Not when you're messing with people who, let's say, in the past have had shady contacts. But I don't know. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think of this. And do you think there'll be more of it? What do you think of Ben? What do you think of Eubank? What do you think of Nigel Benn? I was a massive fan of Nigel Benn. Massive fan. But let me know if you've got any comments. Leave them below. And, of course, subscribe to the channel if you're new. And if you like the video, hit the like button, because it costs you nothing and you're helping the channel out a great deal. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for your time. I'm looking forward to reading your comments, and I'll answer as many as I can. And bye for now.